The conditioning that a bodybuilder presents on the stage is very important, and back shots like this are quite exposing to that last little layer of water. You can see the guy on the right has some pretty soggy glutes, and the guy on the left is just in supreme condition. But with no disrespect meant to the guy on the right, that's actually Mohamed Makaway, and this was actually a bit of a comeback. And for his time, Mohamed Makaway was very conditioned, quite conditioned indeed. And if you look at the bottom picture, you can see Sergio Oliva, that's Samir Banu, and they also had the non-striated glutes, just a normal man's bum back then. So it was not really the criteria. Of course, Tom Platz, I mean, that guy was shredded to the diced, even back in the early 80s. But yes, aside from the comeback of Mohamed Makaway, he was pretty conditioned. And prior to that, the 1970s, I mean, these guys all had pretty good condition. They had similar condition. Nobody was really out of shape. Lou Ferrigno, Arnold Schwarzenegger, come on! Speech, Louis, speech. And Serge Nubret. I apologize. Serge Nubret. And speaking of Lou, he also had the same kind of fate, I guess you could say, as Mohamed Makaway when he made his comeback in the 90s. 1993's Baby Please, he did have a soggy donk, which for his time, nobody's going to really say anything. But you stack him up against pretty much any of these bodybuilders from the 90s, they were all peeled, just shredded to the diced. So is Lou Ferrigno? Am I saying that he had the worst condition in bodybuilding history? From the front, he also had a little bit of a casus belly as well. So Lou Ferrigno, I guess, considering it was his comeback, I guess we'll let it slide. If you step out of the realm of the IFBB, there are such specimens like the maniac Mike Quinn. With all due respect to this guy, this was in the WBF, Vince McMahon's answer to the IFBB, and they were all off the gear, quote unquote gear. So they struggled with their dieting and things of that nature. But having said that, this was a very soft Mike Quinn. I'm sure many of you people are confused about what condition is, and some of you guys are thinking he has to mention Greg Kovacs. Greg Kovacs, hey, I'll admit, he was a hot mess. Proportions, things of that nature all over the place, with all due respect. May he rest in peace. But one thing he was not was soft. He was always rock hard and actually had pretty decent condition. So the conditioning was not an issue with Greg Kovacs. And you know what? It was very difficult to find a non-conditioned bodybuilder throughout the 90s. I mean, Sean Ray with his set of abs there, you would look pretty foolish standing next to that guy if you were not peeled. You can even see a couple of guys in the background. They're abs. Just their stomachs, you can see abs all over the place. So yes, the 90s, not the time to find a bad conditioned bodybuilder. As you got in to the early 2000s, the same kind of thing happened here with Nasser El Somebody. You didn't have a comeback. They just kept him around maybe a little bit too long. He was pretty poor in the condition region. From behind, I've seen worse. This is 2001 or 2002, I apologize. Now in 2003, crikey, Lee Priest now, he was huge, but he was soft. He was very soft. Marshmallowy, in fact. I bet you people still, till this very day, discuss this marshmallowy softness. His fans told him to compete. He told them he was too out of condition. He shouldn't compete. And they said, oh, we just want to see you compete. Then he competed. Then they got mad at him. So, yeah, it wasn't like he was making a comeback. I mean, 1 year prior, and this confuses some people, this is the official, Lee Priest was good 1 year and he was bad the next. It was 2002. He was great. He was awesome. I mean, look at the legs. Look at the condition. In 2003, watery all over the place. And This is Mark's Max Muscle, so let's sneak in a little comparison. Let's do even a back shot. And see, he was better in 2003. Look at the traps. So this was Lee Priest, right smack dab in the middle of his prime. And he came in watery. He might have been able to beat Ronnie King Coleman. Hey, he did a couple of years prior, but no more disrespect put on poor Lee Priest. He was off in 2003. Soft version, bad condition. Now, I have to mention this, guys. Jay Cutler, he's one of the best. He's one of the greatest. I mean, he's such a nice guy. I don't want to say he had bad condition. But in terms of Olympia champions, for their time, I'm sure there was some guys in the 60s that didn't have the condition of Jay Cutler, but for his time, this was 2007, guys. We were past the Ronnie King Coleman era. We should see striated glutes, and we just did not see that for Jay Cutler. In fact, he may have been the least conditioned guy at the 2007 Mr. Olympia event. Actually, he wasn't. Vince Taylor was, with all due respect. It's another situation where I'm sure somebody would argue, say Jay's worse condition, but I think poor Vince Taylor is it. It's another situation where it's a comeback. He was doing Masters, actually, and I believe they canceled the Masters on him, or they just didn't do it anymore. He was still in great shape for that type of competition, but for the Open Olympia, yes, this is one of the worst conditionings that I've ever seen. But for his time, again, I mean, and that's just bodybuilding. Nobody finishes off their career in peak condition. But Mark's Max Muscle, what about my 2013 Olympia showing? Actually, yeah, Jay's right. Or at least my impression of Jay is correct. 2013, arguably one of his most conditioned versions, Jay Cutler. So kudos. Kudos to Jay. Following year, 2014, there was a couple of double bubbles, some triple troubles at that. Namely, Rolly the Beast Winkler, I apologize. That's totally out of line for me to say that. It was more of a gut issue. I mean, from behind, the guy wasn't totally out of condition. He had some striations in the glutes, some things of that nature. Now, in 2016, there was another situation where it was a comeback. The comeback special of Kevin Levrone. Was he just small, or was he in bad condition in comparison with the current competitors? Of course his conditioning was bad. But, I mean, I think we have seen worse. I mean, Lou Ferrigno was a lot worse than this. A lot worse than this. I mean, Kevin Levrone, for his time, I guess he did okay. In terms of current competitors, I guess Patrick Moore, James Hollingshead, 2021 Mr. Olympia, both of those guys were decently off, notably off. But you compare them with several other guys, Regan Grimes also, and Hassan Mustafa. Andrea Presti there, we'll scooch him over to the side. He actually looks pretty peeled. But yes, I mean, all four of those guys could be considered having bad condition. Actually, Hollingshead, you look at the glutes, I guess he's not too bad. He's not too bad, the battling Brit. Now, in 2022, this guy really surprised me. This guy was, well, I guess if you want to have bad condition, be a good thing. Andrea Muzi, he pulled it off. He was soft from the front, and you turn him around and have a look. These are legendarily soft glutes. These are almost a normal man's bum. For a normal person, this would be a pretty ripped dude. But this is the Olympia lineup, and thus far, I've basically stuck to the Olympias because you can fall down rabbit holes. There's so many different events, but one guy that does come to mind, and we are reaching close to an end in this one. Poor blessing Awadibu, Awadabu, blessing Awadabu. I mean, this guy, he has such potential, but at the Chicago Pro, I mean, he was way off the mark. And you take a look at the back, in retrospect, looking at some of the soft glutes that we've seen, this was not too bad. So, blessing, I mean, he actually showed improvement, so I don't want to diss this guy. He does have a future left. But man, oh man, was he soft. And we are ending with a bang. Lionel Bayeki at the Mr. Big Evolution just last year. He pulled off a number that was just as soft can be. We're talking marshmallowy. No separation in the abs at all whatsoever. And are you guys ready? Have a look, if you will, at the worst condition of any bodybuilder for their time now. Actually, Larry Scott had more striated glutes than this. Lionel Bayeki. And the funny thing is, this was actually an improvement from the last time we actually seen him 1 year prior at the Yamamoto, France, if I'm not mistaken. And this is the only picture I could find. But trust me, watching the live streams or videos of it, the guy was even worse here. So this may be the softest, worst condition of any pro competing in the last 10 or so years anyway. But to show some respect to Lionel Bayeki. And to finish this off, look at Lionel in his prime. He was never pushing that Dorian Yates type thin skin, things of that nature to begin with. So I guess he would be a good candidate for this video. But man, look at the round muscle bellies on this dude. Wow. Very impressive. So Lionel Bayeki, you were good in your prime, man. But you won this video. You're number one in my books. Hit thumbs up on the video. Really hope you guys enjoy this type of content. It was actually a request from you guys to see the worst condition of the last 10 years, I think it was, or 14 years, but very difficult to find an unconditioned bodybuilder, and that's just a testament to these athletes in the IFBB today. Have a great one, guys.